let's do this. All right, so I'm not psyched about this color. Like I said, that's going to be the first thing I change, but I'll hang on to it anyway. So the thing that I want to show you here is an option. Let me stop this render actually, so it's not calculating anymore. I want to show you an option with materials. So if you have a material that you've kind of worked on, you sort of like it, but you're not exactly sure if that's exactly what you want, and you don't want to forget what your settings were, you can easily clone a material and just make a copy of it. So you just right click and you go to clone material, and it just makes a copy just like that. So they're exactly the same until I make a change. So I'm going to change this one to be called, I'm going to do it like a blue glossy. And then under layer, under BSDF, the settings here, I'm going to pick a different blue color. This one I'm going to kind of go to like more of like a, not quite cyan. Well, yeah, I'll go to like a cyan. Maybe like a duller blue aqua. That's really saturated. I'm going to desaturate it a little bit and then brighten it up. Like a slate blue. There we go. Do you guys know what I mean by saturating? Desaturating? So, just in case you guys are curious, right? The color that you pick up top, that's your color hue, and then the saturation is where it is along this axis. So when you head more toward white, that's desaturating. When you head more toward black, you're oversaturating it. Yeah. Or vice versa. Okay. Anyway. Oh, shoot. I lost my color. Here we go. Slate blue. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to refresh that. I probably need more blue in that. Yeah, it's almost too gray. It looks too close to the original material. There we go. So that one's going to actually appear blue. So now the thing that we're going to change, and it's very, very simple. I said we're only going to deal with roughness. So the roughness, that's just going to change down to 0. And essentially that's going to create a near mirror or anodized metallic kind of material. So you change that, and it's going to appear like that. And in fact, I think... Do I want to... Let me just see if this is kind of more what I'm looking for. Let's leave it on 0. I think that might just appear to be a mirror for this case, and then we might have to do another layer over top of it. But anyway, let's give this a shot. So,
how'd you do that? Like, we're changing it into a checkered ball?
Roughness. I changed it to 0. So what that's doing is it's reflecting the environment that it's in.
Like the material is that like the little ball.
This.
You just
refreshed it. I refreshed it.
Putting the roughness as well.
Yep.
The little.
Just want to see something on this guy.
Refresh the orange. Oh.
Yeah. So this guy right here. So let's give that one a shot. It's probably not going to show blue. Let me just try that one out. I might be missing the other layer I'm looking for, where it's going to be sort of like a satin finish. Oh, that's odd. I didn't change the material. Just a second. Apply that. Don't do what I did. Make sure it's applied. Yeah, so that's going to come out all mirror. But we can run this one anyway so that you guys know how to do a fully reflective material. All right. I'll let this run for just a moment before I move on. All right, so I'm not going to let this one run out much longer than this, but all I wanted to do was just communicate that with this being a fully chromatic material, you get full reflectance of the adjacent surfaces, but also notice this on the right-hand side, right? You can actually see some of the blue that's in it on that particular location because while everywhere else it's reflecting the black of the room or the white of the material below, in that case, all it's reflecting is light. And so when it bounces off of that surface and into the camera lens, you get a little bit of that blue sense. So what I want to jump into next is showing you how to move from not just a matte or a reflected material. I want to show you how to also create a like a satin sort of finish where it's almost like a plastic. So let's stop this and move into that. So here on the purple matte, let's make a clone of that one as well. So we'll clone this again and open up your material settings. And that's these right here. Let me go back to the blue. I like that blue color. Something like that. So in this case, what we're trying to do is to modify it so that we actually create a relationship between two different layers that are going to communicate different things. So we have the blue layer below that's going to actually kind of have that roughness and sort of chalky, almost matte paint surface. But then we're actually going to sort of glaze it over the top with a secondary layer that creates some reflectance that's going to borrow some of the properties of that chromatic material. Does that make sense? So we're going to take those two and we're going to kind of blend them. So if anything, this is the closest thing to smashing two materials together that you can get. So you right click on purple matte, the title of it up here. Actually, let me rename that first. We're going to call this satin blue. So right click on the name and go to add layer. So this is going to create a secondary layer. This one right here down the bottom, that one is your blue base. So you can call this blue matte if you want. And then you can go to the other one and you can actually call this, I don't know, like glaze or something like that, or something that goes above. Whatever naming convention you want to use. But here, the difference between these two is that the glaze surface, you can actually leave it as a reflectance gray because the color doesn't really matter that much in this case. Only in certain lighting conditions will it matter. The important part is this roughness, and that roughness needs to move down to be a 0. And if you refresh that, you're going to see that it creates a condition like this where it's blue and it's glossy. The other thing that you can do, depending on how you want it to show up, is if you go up here to the layer folder, you can actually revise this opacity or mask to either accentuate more of the gloss or less of the gloss. So the more opaque you make it, right now it's at 100% opaque, or is that 100% transparency? I forget. Go down to something like 30 and then refresh, and you'll see, oh yeah, so the 0 opacity is going to bring you as close to the matte finish as you can possibly get. So 30 or 40 or something like that is going to be somewhere in between the two. Okay, so you'll have the opportunity to play around with that a little bit too in a short while, but we're going to apply this material to layer 2 for me, whatever layer you have the object on for you, and then we'll do another draft. Are there any questions so far? Yes?
How did you make it, when you made the glaze, how did you make the other layer?
Right click on this, just right click it and go to add layer, and it'll create another layer like that.
What were the settings you had for glaze?
Glaze, the only thing I changed was roughness down to 0, and the reflectance 0, you can just leave it at the default gray. actually wondering what that's going to look like if I make it a blue. Doesn't really change much. It does reinforce. Yeah. Okay. So let me do a draft render and I'll let it run for a few minutes and then I'll close out this video after it's done. There it is. Alright, let me run this for a few. Alright, so just to close out, I think you guys kind of get this, right? It basically just looks like a simple plastic form. It's pretty smooth. It has a little bit of texture to the surface, but generally it's pretty glossy, right? The next thing that I want to show you is creating... Oh, you know what? Let me close this video and then I'll move into the next one. Sorry.